Saturday, Gay Ed. It could become part of your child's school curriculum. We report both sides of the story. You decide. Fair and balanced this weekend, only on Fox. This Sunday, Bush courts favor for his judicial nominees. We'll have a legal brief. Then it's spy versus spy. Scandal threatens to bring down the FBI. Do we need to investigate the investigators? And is the FBI's credibility MIA? We'll get insight from Senator Patrick Leahy. That's this week on Fox News Sunday. Check your local listing.
Is the Social Security system on the brink of collapse? We'll tell you what a presidential commission had to say about it.
Is the frenzy over Congressman Gary Condit preventing Democrats from getting their message out?
And President Bush decides it's time to make a deal on patients' rights before Congress leaves town for the August recess. But is the political damage already done?
That's coming up on the Beltway Boys. But first, the latest headlines.
Hello, everyone. I'm Todd Connor. Healthcare workers are looking into a West Nile virus scare in Baltimore. Dozens of bird carcasses infected with West Nile virus have been found in the area. But health officials want more proof that the virus is present and say they'll focus on mosquito testing. Mosquitoes spread the West Nile virus, so widespread insecticide spraying could be the next step. Crews out west are battling to put out a couple of huge wildfires. A fire in Wyoming has grown to more than 3,700 acres since Sunday. Folks have been told they may have to leave their homes in Wilson, where the forecast calls for wind and dry weather. In California, firefighters hope to have the flames near San Bernardino under control by tonight. That 630-acre wildfire is about 60% contained now. And a fire in Russia today caused the partial shutdown of a nuclear power plant. The flames came within 2 miles of a storage facility containing nuclear waste. Radiation levels are reported to be within permitted levels. Even more protests in Europe over last week's G8 summit. About 1,000 people demonstrated peacefully in Berlin today. They want an official inquiry into the behavior of Italian police during the economic summit, where one demonstrator was killed by a cop. Another group marched in London outside the Italian embassy. Meantime, the British government is considering an official complaint to the Italian government against police brutality. Finally, Europe's most active volcano showing no signs of calming down. Ash spouting from Mount Etna had forced the main airport in eastern Sicily to close temporarily, but it is open again now. Emergency crews are working to redirect lava from tourist sites. Etna's been blowing its lid for 2 straight weeks, but so far no serious damage to nearby towns. Next update coming your way at the bottom of the hour, but now stay tuned for the Beltway Boys coming your way next.
I'm Mort Kondracki.
And I'm Fred Barnes, and we're the Beltway Boys.
Well, Fred, I want to show you how Pollyanna views the situation in Washington right now. Watch.
Pollyanna, huh? All right.
I think we've had a pretty good 6 months when you think about it. I've signed a lot of legislation. Today, for example, I signed the legislation naming the education savings accounts after Paul Coverdale. That's a piece of legislation that had languished in the past. It's now law. I signed tax cuts. I signed some regulatory relief. I am very pleased with the cooperative spirit in the Congress.
That was last 6 months. If he can find it there, he's finding jewels in the rough. Yeah. But the next 6 months is all about big tests to come. I mean, he has managed to restore honor and dignity to the White House, but he certainly has not changed the partisan poison tone in Washington D.C. And all there's, he did get a faith-based initiative through the House of Representatives, but now come all the big problems. Mm-hmm. Patients' Bill of Rights, big test maybe next week. Energy legislation may not make it through. Mm-hmm. Trade Promotion Authority, which is a key of his program, may not make it at all through the House of Representatives, and that's just the House of Representatives, which his own party controls, not to mention the Senate. I mean, I think that the 2002 election is going to be all about who caused gridlock.
Boy, that'll be an exciting issue. I can't wait to cover that. But look, you're right and you're wrong. You're right about the trouble Bush has. You're wrong about him on this whole question of changing the tone in Washington. I think he's gone a good ways toward changing the tone, even with Democrats wanting to be a wrecking crew. Now, Democrats need to watch out on one thing. I mean, just this past week on this issue of Mexican trucks under the North American Free Trade Agreement coming into the United States, all 50 Democrats voted to impede these Mexican trucks from coming in under the rubric of their safety. That had nothing to do with it. This was anti-Mexican, and they better watch out because it can affect the Latino vote in the U.S. Okay, there's another big issue, and that is the new twist in the Gary Condit case. This is this is an enduring hot story, of course, about Gary Condit, but the new twist is the Democrats are starting to worry that this Condit thing, and they should be worrying that the whole Condit thing can harm them. Now, particularly Democrats in conservative districts need to separate themselves from Gary Condit, because this whole issue reminds people of whom?
Of whom? Yes, your friend Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton,
right?
Okay. Yeah. Here's what Charlie Stenholm from West Texas, a Democrat and a good guy, here's what he had to say. I will say that through his actions, he's talking about Condit, and behaviors, Congressman Condit has brought controversy and discredit to his family, his district, and the Congress, and he could have added, and the Democratic Party. Now, Republicans have jumped on this. There's this memo from J.C. Watts, which you may have read, but I'm going to show it to you again. There's one phrase that you need to pay attention to. J.C. Watts, the head of the House Republican Conference. The lack of a coherent message, along with internal distractions, is clearly having an impact on the ability of congressional Democrats to get their message out. Mort, internal distractions means Condit.
Gary Condit. I don't agree with J.C. Watts. I think that the Democrats have a message. Whatever George Bush does is wrong. You know, whether it's energy or Social Security or Medicare or whatever it is, it's wrong. And I think that message is getting out. They have a press conference practically every day, and I think it's pretty effective. Let's see who's up and who's down this week. Down, former Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Moynihan, co-chairman of President Bush's Social Security Commission, softens his initial claim that the system is broken, while Democrats criticize the commission for using scare tactics. Well, I mean, the commission said basically that the system is untenable, that you can't support the baby boom generation with only 2 workers working as opposed to 7 when the system began. But here's what Tom Daschle had to say about what the commission did say.
The report uses the language of crisis to frighten people into abandoning Social Security. It is biased, it is misleading, in many places it is flat out wrong.
Well, I think what you need to have is a series of Lincoln Douglas style debates all around the country and on every television network to get it straight about whether Social Security is in crisis and what to do about it, because I don't think the public understands the issue. They're just shouts back and forth across, and at the moment, with the stock market down, I don't think Bush's privatization plan has a chance.
And don't you remember who won those Lincoln Douglas debates?
The wrong guy. But in the end, Lincoln won.
It was Douglas who won. Now look, Democrats are experts about one thing. That's scaring people about Social Security, and they definitely want to do it in the 2002 election. But it is their effort to block needed reform of Social Security that I think brings a rich new definition to the phrase reactionary liberals. They are acting like reactionaries. They're not dealing responsibly with this, and in the end it will cause them trouble, though perhaps not in 2002, but at some point. Okay, up. Georgia Congressman Charles Norwood. Norwood gets called to the White House for a negotiating session with the president when his bipartisan and liberal Patients Bill of Rights dominates the debate in the House. Now, Charlie Norwood is a tough and smart and underestimated dentist and now North Georgia congressman who is allied with liberal Democrats, John Dingell and Teddy Kennedy and so on this Patients Bill of Rights. Now, I don't think the White House has taken him seriously enough. The White House is now fighting a 2-front war. One front is to make a deal with Charlie Norwood, have some kind of a compromise. The other front is to beat him and get the Republican leadership alternative passed. Now, I just don't know whether they can pull these things off. Here's what Bush says he wants. Now, you've heard him say this before, but I'm going to show you again.
I want a bill, but there are some things that are unacceptable to me. And the most unacceptable thing to me is that there be a piece of legislation that encourages lawsuits and discourages American citizens from being able to afford health insurance.
No, I don't think he can get what he wants without Charlie Norwood.
Now, Fred, you keep telling me that the public out there in the country doesn't care about patients' rights. That's way down in they're low on their agenda. Then why is George Bush working on a compromise? Why didn't he just veto what he doesn't like, and why won't the public support him?
Because all these Republicans on the Hill are scared to death about it needlessly, but yet they are, and he has to accommodate them.
Well, that doesn't sound like leadership to me. Anyway, Down, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld still smarting over a Pentagon budget that's much smaller than he wanted. Catches heat from Democrats over missile defense and Republicans over closing bases. I think Donald Rumsfeld has the hardest job of anybody in Washington, D.C. What he's got to do is both transform the military to deal with threats that might be out there 20 to 30 years from now, and also modernize the existing military with weapons that can beat the Iraqis and the Iranians over the next 5 to 10 years. This is a very difficult job. It's very expensive, and George Bush has not given him the money. George Bush, who said during the campaign to the military, help is on the way, well, Don Rumsfeld needs help right now.
No, he does need help, and I'm not apologizing for the Bush administration. They should give him more money. But if they put it in the budget, Democrats on the Hill, in the Senate particularly, would just want to take that money and spend it on something else. Of course they would more. Don't give me that look. You know darn well they've been doing this for years.
A grimace, a doubt.
All right. Down. Motion Picture Association of America President Jack Valenti. Valenti denies Hollywood's influence over our youth and the need for a universal rating system, but Congress isn't buying it. Now, that was one of the most wonderful statements I've ever seen before Congress this past week, Mort, and it was by none other than Jack Valenti, who's a very nice man and a great lobbyist. Now, listen to this. Maybe you'll learn something from it.
Now, what movie raters have to face is they are not dealing with the purities of Euclid's geometric equations, the answers of which are always clean-shaped and precise. What movie raters, vexing though it is to them and to social scientists and to Wall Street analysts, they're dealing with the ghostly form of subjectivity, which is barren of all Euclidean finalities.
What I'll have you know, I speak with Euclidean finality. You know, Valenti's wrong about Hollywood. Hollywood does have a deleterious influence, but I'd rather have Hollywood straighten it out than have Congress step in.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the Independent Women's Forum, a conservative organization, just published a report saying that on college campuses and among teenagers, the culture is hook up and one-night stands, you know. And whose fault is that? Jack, listen, it's Hollywood. Pay attention. Coming up, Vice President Dick Cheney is holding a special strategy session for Republicans next week. We'll tell you what it's all about in our tip sheet. Stay tuned.
Daddy?
Hey!
Why are you eating my Cheerios?
They help lower Daddy's cholesterol. They're good for Daddy's heart.
Whole grain oat Cheerios is the only leading cold cereal clinically proven to help lower cholesterol in a low-fat diet.
Cholesterol thing.
Other airline credit cards give you 1 mile for every dollar you spend. But only the Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express gives you that. Plus, you'll always get double miles at supermarkets, drugstores, and on Delta tickets. On top of 5,000 bonus miles just for getting the card. Watch how quickly all those extra miles add up to your free vacation travel. We can't say the Delta Sky Miles credit card is twice as good as other airline credit cards, but you might. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES to apply now.
Your typical airline credit card gives you 1 mile for every dollar you spend. But only the Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express gives you that. Plus, you'll always get double miles at gas stations, home improvement stores, and on Delta tickets. On top of 5,000 bonus miles just for getting the card. Watch how quickly all those extra miles add up to your free vacation travel. The Delta Sky Miles credit card. Faster than your typical airline credit card. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES to apply now.
Sunday, February 18th, tragedy strikes Daytona.
NASCAR has lost its greatest driver ever.
He was the Intimidator, a racing legend who set the pace.
I am competitive. I do drive a race car hard.
A life cut short, but a hero whose feats will long be remembered. Go inside the world's most dangerous sport and find out what really drives these competitors to risk it all. Don't miss Death of a Legend, a Fox News Channel special this weekend.
Welcome back to the Beltway Boys. Here's our tip sheet for next week's political action. Can Fred Barnes handle it? He can. I know he can. All right, item number 1. House Republicans want to pass fast-track legislation, trade legislation, by the August recess, but can they hammer out the details in time?
There's a simple word that answers that. No, they can't. I mean, they're not quite enough Republicans, but they need 30 Democrats. That shouldn't be too hard to get, but it is.
Well, the key to it is whether Bill Thomas, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, and Cal Dooley, who's not even a member of the committee but is a trade expert, can reach a deal on something called the toolbox. But we'll get into that another time.
Yeah, please.
Okay, item number 2. Vice President Dick Cheney will hold a special strategy session next week with House and Senate Republicans. Their mission, to reach women voters.
You know, there's a good way to reach women voters that Republicans haven't done enough of, and that is nominate women candidates. Remember, in Senate races last year, they lost to women candidates in close races, lost Republican seats in Missouri, Michigan, and Washington. They need women candidates.
Sexism problem?
No, I don't know what it is, but I'd rather say sexism.
Fred, there's a simple word for it. Compassionate. It worked last time for George Bush. Anyway, item 3. The Senate could vote on Mary Sheila Gall's nomination to become chairwoman of the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
You know, there was no compassion on the part of Democrats in dealing with her. They were McCarthyite attacks. She's a wonderful woman. They made out as if she were killing children by not expanding the role of the Consumer Product Safety Administration by over-regulating. The truth is, though, her nomination looks like it's in deep trouble.
You know what this is all about? This is about Democrats trying to prove that George Bush is not compassionate, even though she voted 97% of the time with other commission members.
Yeah, but he is. You know better.
Item 4. As the August recess nears, President Bush wraps up business in Washington and plans his own vacation in Crawford, Texas, where he'll spend the next month.
Well, you're going to vacation for the next month, right?
Yeah, don't I wish.
Yeah, all right. Move on.
All right. And item number 5, First Lady Laura Bush and Librarian of Congress James Billington announced plans next week for the first National Book Festival to be held at the Library of Congress in September.
Laura Bush is very popular and for good reason, and she's been almost invisible as First Lady. They need to have her out front and center a lot more often. Will help politically and otherwise.
Yeah, but she's more liberal than George Bush is.
No, come on.
And that will emerge.
Maybe a tad.
Okay.
Coming up, we'll talk to a rising star in the conservative ranks, Arizona Senator John Kyl. Don't go away.
Who's looking out for us? The working people of America.
Out here, I'm in command. So am I supposed to say, slow down, guys, I'm constipated? I don't think so. You try to eat right. Sometimes you can't. Harsh chemical laxatives, they can kick in whenever and wherever. Not an option. So I rely on doctor-recommended Metamucil. It's got 100% natural fiber. Works with my body, gently, which is important to a sensitive guy like myself.
Metamucil, the doctor's natural choice for regularity.
William?
Hello, Stephen.
You're not by any chance computer shopping, are you?
Mm-hmm. If I can get some help.
Well, right now, you can get a complete Dell system with an Intel Pentium 3 processor, plus all of this for just $7.99.
Really?
She's intrigued. Excellent. Because right now, you can get free shipping. Unbelievable. And as far as service and support, Dell's won more awards than any other PC company in the last 5 years. It's real easy. Just call or go online. Tell them what you want, and right to your front door comes America's favorite PC.
Thanks, Stephen.
Now you can get a Dell desktop with an Intel Pentium 3 processor and 6 months of America Online Internet service for just $7.99. Call or go online today, and shipping is free. There's great deals on notebooks, too.
Dude, you're getting a Dell.
Easy to buy, easy to own, easy as Dell.
I love music. It's in my head. I can't get it out.
The essential Miles Davis.
The new 2-CD set spanning over 40 years of groundbreaking music. It's the most complete collection ever assembled from one of the world's most influential musicians. Featuring 2.5 hours of legendary recordings on 2 CDs. The Essential Miles Davis. Call the number on your screen to order The Essential Miles Davis. It's a must for any music fan. Call now to order.
Welcome back to the Beltway Boys. Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee have promised to make President Bush's judicial nomination hearings anything but a walk in the park. Will they be able to block the president's picks? Joining us to discuss his role on the Judiciary Committee is Republican Senator Jon Kyl of Arizona. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Now, here's my first question. That is, are you satisfied that Democrats and Judiciary Committee Chairman Patrick Leahy in particular will treat Bush judicial nominees fairly and expeditiously?
No.
That's not a loaded question.
In a word, the answer is no. They've already demonstrated a propensity to delay these nominations, and by holding the hearings that you alluded to provide a new basis for voting down or not confirming the president's nomination.
Well, let me ask you about that new basis. Now, listen to a statement made the other day by Chuck Schumer of New York, the liberal senator. Now, listen to this.
But if the president sends countless nominees who are of particular ideological cast, Democrats will likely exercise their constitutionally given power to deny confirmation so that such nominees do not reorient the direction of the federal judiciary.
Is that a legitimate ground for opposing conservative nominees, that it might reorient the balance on the federal judiciary?
No, it's not. There's always been a political dimension to the confirmation process, no question about it. But there's always been an attempt to give the president some leeway, to give deference to his nominees, and only to vote against them if there's some other factor about them that you can point to, a lack of qualification, lack of judicial temperament, or clearly being way outside the mainstream. And for somebody like Chuck Schumer to define the mainstream is, I think, not quite appropriate. The bottom line here is that what they're talking about is political ideology. We've never used that as the primary basis, and it would be unprecedented. Well, now, the Democrats say that this is only payback time for the way you treated judges at the end of the Clinton administration, where any number of appellate court judges were just not processed, and lots of vacancies were left over. And that's one point. And the second point is, if you guys ever get back in control again, will you apply the Schumer standard to Democratic nominees if a Democratic president gets reelected? Well, the best evidence is what we've done so far, Morton. The Republicans did vote for the 2 Clinton nominees to the U.S. Supreme Court. I think they were both confirmed unanimously. We knew that they were not going to be particularly conservative, and they certainly haven't been, but they were qualified, and therefore Republicans voted to support them. In terms of the total nominees confirmed by Republicans and the vacancies left at the end of the Clinton term, the numbers are almost identical to previous administrations. I think we were within 5 of confirming the number that were confirmed for Ronald Reagan, which was a record. And there was about 60, were about 60 remaining at the end of the term, which is approximately average. They're now well over 100, and this administration has been sending nominations up, but the Judiciary Committee has only passed out 4 from committee, and the Senate has only confirmed 3 judges in the entire Bush term so far. Senator, let me ask you about immigration. You live in a state that borders on Mexico. The president is thinking about some sort of an amnesty program, even though probably you won't call it that, that might allow in or allow to become resident aliens about 3 million illegal immigrants. Now, how will Arizona and how will you react if he does such a thing? We've got to be very careful about how we do this. First of all, I don't think the president's talking about any kind of a blanket amnesty. So you'd be talking about some kind of conditions for a guest worker program under which people who are here illegally today could sign up for that program and perhaps get a legal status by then working here in the United States for a period of time. One of the key aspects to look at here is whether we have the will to enforce the law that would prohibit employers from employing other people who are illegal and would enforce the law against people entering the country illegally. what we have found in the past is that whenever there's been some kind of an amnesty, that there is a rush of illegal immigration into the country because people would like to take advantage of what they figure will be the next amnesty. And we've got to be very careful we don't adopt a program that would provide that kind of incentive to folks.
Yes, Senator, how would you characterize the performance as Senate Majority Leader of Tom Daschle?
Tom Daschle reminds me a lot of his mentor, George Mitchell. He's tough, he knows what he wants, and he's tough enough to go get it. And the question, I think, is whether the Republican leadership can adopt or adapt to a minority status. We've been in the majority long enough that we kind of tend to continue to act as a majority. We're not. And if we're going to get back in the majority, we're going to have to begin to really want it and act like we want it.
Well, it sounds like you're suggesting that Senator Lott, the Republican leader, is not aggressive enough. I note that you had to step in on the floor and force Democrats to release from the Interior Committee, Interior Department nominees so they could have a vote on the Senate floor.
Well, I did do that, and I think in politics it's just a matter of both sides are going to be pushing against the other, and if you're not willing to push back, then you're going to get pushed around.
I know. Well, shouldn't that be something that Senator Lott, as leader, should have done?
Well, you know, each senator has various prerogatives, and sometimes it's better for somebody else to take the lead on something because, after all, Senator Lott has to work with Daschle every day. But at some point, he has to play that role as well, yes. Thanks, Senator Kyle. Thank you.
Okay, when we return, we'll have the latest buzz. You stay with us.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was hosting my first big business dinner, and I paid with my Visa card. Turns out I was over my limit. I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to do. So I got the American Express card, and it never happened again.
Call 1-800-THE-CARD. We can take your application right over the phone.
Applying for the card was one of the easiest things I've ever done, and smartest. And anyone who's ever gone anywhere knows it. I have a place to cash checks, get my mail, and get help when I need it.
My dad said the minute you get a job, get an American Express card. He said, trust me on this one. I've gone everywhere with it. And here's a tip. Sign up for membership rewards, and everything you charge on the card will earn you program points, so you can keep on traveling.
So call now for the American Express card. You can apply right over the phone.
It helped not having a preset limit.
It's great getting points every time you use the card.
I can call 24 hours a day. That helps.
No matter what you do or where you go, the American Express card can help you do more.
At IBM.com, we've conducted extensive research, all to ascertain what small business people want.
We want lower conference room tables and we want higher chairs.
Leon, small business people want value. Computers like IBM's powerful, reliable NetVista 820 at prices well within the bounds of budgetary restraint.
We want to be able to see in the men's room mirror without having to get on our tippy toes all the time.
They want a computer like the 820. It's a good, solid workhorse that's incredibly expandable and backed by IBM service and support. This one's got an Intel Pentium 3 processor, 1 gigahertz, 64 megs of RAM, 20 gigs of disk space, and top business software, all for just $799.
We want shorter sleeves, lower cubicle walls.
Order this NetVista 820 with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for just $799 now, and you can get this color printer free.
Oh, you gotta like that.
Call or visit IBM.com today. Research indicates people in small business will welcome that offer.
How about a ban on high-heeled shoes?
Saturday, Gay Ed. It could become part of your child's school curriculum. We report both sides of the story. You decide. Fair and balanced this weekend, only on Fox. It's a story of sex, lies, and politics, of polygraphs, bloodstains, and dead ends. And for one anguished family, a missing daughter. What really happened to Chandra Levy? We'll go beyond the hype and headlines and search for answers. Plus, in our exclusive poll, the people who voted for Condit tell us what they think of him now. Join us for Vanished. Where's Chandra Levy?
Welcome back to the Beltway Boys. Here's the buzz, Mort. You know who the person is who Karl Rove, the White House political advisor, wants to run for governor in California against Gray Davis? You
Richard Reardon, I bet.
Richard Reardon, the just retired mayor of Los Angeles. Very popular figure. He's going to run. He met with supporters over dinner a few nights ago in Los Angeles. One, he is going to run. Two, he's going to pony up a lot of, he's a wealthy man, pony up a lot of money to help in this race. And three, he stands a pretty good chance of defeating Gray Davis. He's probably the only Republican who could, and this will make you happy, Mort. Number four, he's not a conservative.
And Gray Davis, but Gray Davis is making a comeback.
I agree he is. This is going to be a great race. I forgot number five. Reardon is a very potent winner of Hispanic votes.
Okay. Tom Daschle's future. You know, he said one time he might resign, or he might run for president, or he might run for re-election. Well, the discussion is all about whether he can both in 2004 run for re-election in South Dakota under law and also run for president of the United States. The question is very much up in the air. The state election commissioner says that he can, but that there might be a court challenge. In any event, the Daschle people are keeping this alive for reasons that I do not understand. All right, that's all for the Beltway Boys for this week. Watch us on Special Report with Britt Hume weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
And join us next week when the boys will be back in town.
Up next, the information you need to